Hi guys, it is July 26, 2016, and I am in Budapest, Hungary. So it is hard to keep track. It is hard to keep track. Another brutal terrorist attack happened today in France, where a couple of Muslim ISIS thugs stormed a church, took the congregation hostage, and beheaded an 84-year-old priest. Now, this outrage follows a list of. By now it's getting. It's difficult to keep track because there's so many of these incidents and they keep growing and growing in regularity. These people are trying to, they come to Europe and they try to commit genocide, because what they're doing to us and what they're attempting to do to us is what they've done in Syria to the Yazidis. Except that here in Europe, we can squish them like a bug whenever we get the balls and the cojones to do that and to define the enemy for what it is. The enemy is Muslims. The enemy is Africans. The enemy is people who are not of European descent, who do not look like us, behave like us, think like us, have our values, are impossible to integrate, and who yet keep coming and coming and coming to Europe in ever larger numbers. A priest was beheaded. Okay, fine. Isolated incident. Well, this follows. Let's see. Let's just run through the list. The list, and I'm gonna arbitrarily cut it off with the Nice, France truck attack, because I just don't have the time. There's not enough bandwidth on my phone to just run and detail all the incidents that have recently happened. But let's see. There was the beheading of a priest in Normandy, which was preceded by there was a machete attack on a pregnant Polish woman in Germany. There was the shooting by an Iranian, the descendant of a prior refugees from the 1990s. The shooting of 9 people, including children, in Munich. An axe attack in Germany. A suicide bomber in a wine bar in Ansbach in Germany. And of course there was the attack in Nice, where a truck was used by a Tunisian Muslim to mow down families, French families, babies, children, French children, promenading on a boardwalk and celebrating Bastille Day. And again, like I said, I'm arbitrarily cutting it off because I don't have the time to just go over all the other incidents every day. It happens. It is beginning to happen every single day. And so there's no point in discussing or talking about the Brussels airport bomb attack. There's no point in discussing or talking about the Bataclan and the Paris attacks, where there were dozens of murdered French people, French kids, French young people, some of whom in the Bataclan Theater in Paris were disemboweled, and they were castrated. And there's no bandwidth here to talk about all the sex attacks that are constantly occurring. I mean, we're not talking about just isolated incidents here and there. We're talking about Cologne. We're talking about Rotherham. We're talking about Cologne, for example, where thousands of Muslim guys ganged up on German women during New Year's and just decided to, there were some rapes. There was a girl had to have an abortion because she was raped by one of these guys, and so she had an abortion. An 18-year-old girl, and there were about 500 criminal complaints, over 500 criminal complaints in a single night. And the sex attacks in all the Swedish festivals, music festivals. If you don't see a pattern here, what's going on here is these guys, these Muslims, are trying to do to us, to Europeans, what they did to the Yazidis. Now, they're making a big mistake. They're making a big mistake because, you see, we're a lot stronger than the Yazidis. And we can be, if history is any guide, we can be quite determined in our response. Here we have a problem. We have an ideological problem. There's a part of our ideological brain that is not thinking. There's certain concepts that are just wrong, completely wrong. There's the concept that multiculturalism is workable. It is not workable. Some groups cannot be integrated into Western society, will never be integrated into Western society, and moreover, it is not desirable that some groups be integrated into Western society because they'll end up taking over Western society. There's also the issue, the failure to recognize that these Muslims, right now they're a minority. Imagine when they're not a minority, how they're going to treat us, how they're going to treat our children or grandchildren. So this needs to be dealt with, and this needs to be dealt with in a quite brutal fashion, because you respond to brutality with brutality. You don't respond to brutality with cautionary statements or with making fine distinctions. No, you identify the enemy. The enemy is, some people say radical Islam. It's not radical Islam, it's Muslims. Muslims, by definition, is radical ideology. And once you identify the enemy, you deal with that enemy, and you deal with that enemy in a brutal fashion. You get rid of those people. You deport them. You send them back to their countries of origins. You shut your eyes or your ears to any human suffering that may result from your decision to deal with and tackle your enemy and prevent your own genocide and protect your own interest in your own culture and your own children and your own biology. This is just something that needs to be done. That is a vital necessity for the people of Europe, for their welfare, their well-being, and future generations of Europeans, because the way I see it, there's really not much future right now if we continue with the Angela Merkel mentality that these animals can be turned into Europeans. They cannot be turned into Europeans. They're not Europeans. They're different. I mean, I know that a lot of people in the left, I mean, they stain their pants before they will acknowledge or recognize or address the fact that the good Lord did not insert the same biology into every ethnic group or the same culture. I know that it's a painful concept for the left to understand, and they will turn themselves into ideological pretzels to avoid the reality that just slams you in the face every time you have to deal with these peoples of non-European origin, with a particular emphasis on Arabs and on Africans. So again, I mean, guys, just look at the numbers. Look what's happening right now when these people are a minority. You know, the French, the French country, the French have a very painful history in Algeria, where at one point the French were the 10% of the population, and they were kicked out by the native Algerians, and the kicking out of the French was very, very, very brutal. Now, again, French moved back to France. The Algerians, they couldn't get their act together and have a prosperous and stable society, so they followed the French into France, along with other Muslims, and history is just replaying itself. So we're gonna have to deal with this, and there's no other answer to this situation other than illiberalism, other than following your instincts. I mean, you know, if a guy punches you in the face, you hit him back, and you hit him back so hard that you make sure you don't receive another punch in the face, because the other guy's going to be on the ground, and that's the instinct that we need to follow, rather than with every single outrage we stick our rears higher and higher up in the air, deny what's going on, paint a happy situation. And because we're just gonna keep getting fucked. All right, take care, guys.